Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 10 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new sneak peek that was released for the mid-season premiere for Season 10, Episode 9, which is called Squeeze, and also some promotional images that have been released for the mid-season premiere. These are new, they just dropped them I think earlier today, so we're gonna look at both of these. Now there is another sneak peek out there that's related to the cave. It's actually part of the opening minutes. Now I decided not to do a breakdown of that because there isn't really too much there. It's basically just the survivors in the cave looking around trying to find a way out, and Carol sees Alpha and Alpha leaves the cave with a torch in hand. We've seen several shots of that sequence in various parts of the teasers and trailers that have been released. So that's one of the reasons why I decided not to include that breakdown here, because there isn't really too much there. And also it's way too dark. So if I take screenshots, it'll be pretty much a dark screen. So there isn't really too much to kind of go through in that sneak peek. The opening minutes end with that shot from one of the teasers where Carol is screaming while looking up, and Alpha leaves the cave with a torch in hand. But with all of that said, let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the breakdown of a sneak peek that they released, which is a scene of a conversation between Negan and Alpha. This is actually a pretty cool one. So we have Negan talking to Alpha. Negan says, "Well, I hear we're supposed to be keeping our eyes peeled for a spy lurking in the woods. I have an alternate theory to run by you. The spy you're looking for is right here in your camp." So as I kind of speculated before, there's going to be a conversation between Negan and Alpha, and Negan is going to tell her who he thinks the spy is. We did know pretty early on when they released the trailer for the second half that there's going to be a scenario where the Whisperers are going to notice that there's a spy in their camp. So because of that, I knew right away that Negan is going to have this conversation with Alpha. So it seems like I was right about that, and I think that it was a little bit obvious, and I would have preferred them not to kind of give it away. But they did, and that's why I kind of knew pretty early on that we're going to see a scene like this. But the other thing I did want to touch on is, why is Negan even having this conversation with Alpha? If Negan is truly a changed man, and he's truly there at the Whisperers camp for one reason and one reason only, to basically break the Whisperers from the inside, why would he help Alpha? Why would he have this conversation with Alpha? My theory is that Negan has thought about what he's going to say. He's not just saying stuff. He knows what he's doing. He has a game plan. I think he's doing this, giving out intel to Alpha in order to gain Alpha's trust, to be able to have more breathing room in the Whisperers camp and be able to do some more damage than he would be able to do as a Whisperer, just like everybody else. And also, based on the rest of his conversation, it seems like because he knows that the spy is Gamma, to him, that's not hurting the survivors. As far as Negan is concerned, Gamma is just as bad as the Whisperers, and he doesn't really care about hurting Gamma. So that's why he's trying to use Gamma, who he doesn't really care about, in order to gain Alpha's trust, to be able to have more say in the Whisperers' decisions. That might be a long way ahead, but that's probably Negan's long-term strategy. But at the same time, with all of that said, if Negan is in a position where the intel he gives Alpha may hurt the survivors, I don't think that he's going to go through with that. I think for the most part, Negan is going to give away as much intel as possible to Alpha to gain her trust, but at the same time, not risk the lives of the people that I think he truly does care about at this point. But then after Negan says this, Alpha says, "My people know the enemy have nothing to offer except lies." And then I love Negan's response. He says, "Maybe they do, maybe they don't. See, believe it or not, I have been where you are now. And if you don't want to end up where I am right now, I suggest you zig where I zagged." So he's pretty much giving Alpha some advice, saying, if you don't want to end up where I am, take my suggestions, look around, and take care of your spy before he becomes a big problem. Obviously, Negan knows way too well what a spy can do. He had to deal with Dwight. And Dwight was one of the key reasons why Negan lost his power and why the Saviors broke apart. So I think Negan is just giving advice to Alpha and trying to get her to see what Negan did wrong, and then so she would not repeat the same mistake or repeat Negan's mistake. And then Alpha says, you and I are very different. And then Negan jumps in and says, I had people, I had a system, thought they believed in it just like you. So the thing is, you stay king or queen long enough with people telling you all day every day that your shit don't stink, and eventually you'll start to believe it. So what Negan is pretty much saying is that if you go long enough with being in power and with people just saying what you want to hear, then you're not going to hear the right things, and you're going to think that you're doing the right thing when you're not. So Negan is pretty much giving her some friendly advice, and in a way, it's not even bad advice. Like, that's advice you would give any kind of person in charge. If you go long enough with people telling you what you want to hear, you're going to believe it, and you're not going to see the reality and the truth in front of your eyes. So I think Negan is really trying to give her some good advice. And then Negan says, the thing is, it still stinks, so that goes back to what he said previously. You go long enough with people telling you that you're doing amazing, you're going to start to believe it. And then Alpha asks Negan, who? So who's the spy? And then Negan says, well, based on my own personal experience, I'll say, look closer to home. And no, I am not talking about Frankenstein's everyone. So first thing he says, look closer to home. What he means by that is look at the people in charge around you. Look at your second and third in charge. And I think, again, that goes back to his experience with Dwight. And then when he says, I'm not talking about Frankenstein's everyone, he's referring to Beta. So he's saying, I don't mean Beta, I don't think he's the spy, but look somewhere else which is still closer to home. He's referring to Gamma, and he's going to reveal that in a bit. So he says, big dude is clearly a goose stepper. But the little one, you see, she's close enough to you that she knows exactly where the horde is. Plus, she guards the border, which means she's close enough to the enemy that they could have gotten to her. So basically what he's saying is Beta is loyal to you. He's a goose stepper. He's someone that is going to follow orders no matter what. But the little one, referring to Gamma, she might be the one that you might want to look into more. And she is close enough to you that she knew where the horde was. Hence, her giving away that intel or that information to the survivors. And she's close enough to the border that the enemy could have gotten to her. So they could have broke her in a way. And also one thing I do want to mention quick is that this reveals that this takes place after the cave trap moment. And this takes place after the survivors escape the cave trap. Because why else would they have this conversation? But then after that, Alpha gives Negan this kind of stare. So I think she's pretty much starting to believe Negan and starting to want to look at Gamma more carefully and try to see if she's a spy. But this is a pretty cool sneak peek. I love the conversation between them. Then we have some images that were released for the mid-season premiere, and all of these are actually from the cave moment or the sequence of events that take place in the cave. The first image is this one of Carol. This one is of Magna. In the background we have Jerry and I think Aaron as well. Again, this is inside the cave, and then we have this shot of Carol and Kelly inside the cave, and then this pretty awesome image of Daryl on a rock and then surrounding him. This connects to another image that they released a few days ago, I think it was a week ago, where Daryl was jumping on a rock, so that's probably connected to that. The last image is this one of Jerry holding a lantern. Again, this is inside the cave. Nothing too much to say about these images from the sequence of events that take place inside the cave. But that's pretty much it for these images and my sneak peek breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.